Hello, so first things first, I wanted to show you a journal that I got, and it's really cool because it looks like an old Dickens book, our mutual friend, which I haven't read, but it looks really cool. So it looks like a really old, like leathery, like book, but then when you open up, it's by this company called About Blanks, and it's just like blank paper to write in. And I just thought, like, how sick would that be as like a commonplace journal? We're a species that, interestingly, spends its extra intellectual and emotional affordances wondering what the point of them is. The capacity to reflect back on previous actions and decisions and to analyse ourselves, and then to be able to imagine. We've got the capacity of imagination, a daydream, to think about what the future could look like, how it could differ from the past. And yet we feel so uncertain a lot of the time. And we spend a large portion of our lives wondering what the point of them is. And we make things a lot more hard for ourselves than it needs to be. So if we're capable of making meaning, then why is it that we hesitate when choosing one? I spoke about this in a previous video, and I talked about the anterior cingulate cortex. And just to recap, because I think it's interesting, what that is it's the part of your brain that is happy when your goals that you've set, so within the prefrontal cortex, and I'm going to keep drilling on about this because I'm interested, but when the goals that you set are congruent and match up with the actions that you take, the ACC is like, thumbs up mate, thumbs up, have some dopamine, you know? Like, the thing about dopamine that's not really understood, and like people create dopamine menus, and like people go out and get like Starbies and like, you know, buy new journals and stuff, and like people create like a dopamine menu, and like while that's totally valid and like that's totally fair, dopamine is more oriented around the chase, like around the pursuit. So like, think about how nice it is to plan. Like, planning is sometimes fear that's been disguised as action. So like, for example, what I mean by that is like, I know I do this, and at the moment, drum roll, oh my god. I'm actually so excited about the hell. So, oh my god, actually calm down. I'm engaged. Let me just recollect myself. So at the moment I have something extremely exciting to plan, and planning is like, I love it. Like, I love a plan. I love sitting down with like a new journal and be like, right, I'm gonna make a mind map. Like, fucking love mind maps, unreal. Like, my whole blog and like my business idea is called My Mind Map. Like, I love a mind map. Anyways, get me some colour pens and I'm off. But that's because the chase feels good. Like, dopamine, sorry, I'm playing with my hair. I actually don't know what I do with it. Dopamine comes from the chase, it comes from pursuit, it comes from action. But sometimes we accidentally think that just planning it is action. And like, yeah, of course, making a plan, like, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of which you were prepared. Love that quote. But it's true. Like, if you plan to fail, you fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, you know? Like, all these kinds of sayings are completely true and valid. But what I'm getting at is like, oh my god, actually, calm down, I'm so happy. Because I'm sat here and I've got my most favourite ever plant, like the pink lilies, and I've got my new journal in front of me, and I've got a cup of tea, and like, it's a Sunday night, and I've cleaned the entire house, and I've got my new bracelet on, and like, so as you can see, there's serotonin, there's dopamine going around. But I tell you what, our brains are hardwired to seek goals. And sometimes, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's lovely. Like, I'm currently sat down, obviously, filming this video, and the current goal that I'm anticipating is uploading this YouTube video and the curation and creation of this video, and like getting it uploaded and maybe getting some kind of like views from that, maybe getting some kind of interactions from that, that'll be positive and pleasant. So like, that's the current goal that my brain's fixated upon. But a few hours ago, it was getting the house tidy. Like, sometimes, have you ever gone on a trip and you've spent months looking at Pinterest, watching videos about this place and like learning about the culture, and like, have you ever gone on a trip and you've been a little bit underwhelmed? And it's not because it's bad there, like, it's not because it's been an unpleasant trip. It is literally just because dopamine, like I say, like, the brain is wired to look for goals, and once you've hit those goals, it's like why Olympic athletes feel depressed after the Olympics, because there's nothing left to do, and you're like, I've done it now. Like, it's the same sensation that, you know, you get after university when you've qualified and you've been chasing this goal for literally years, putting every little inch of your attention and energy into it, and then you've got it, and all of a sudden you're like, what do I do now? Like, it's a Tuesday morning, I'm off work, like, actually, what do I do now? And that's why structure and discipline are so important, so that you can like I spoke about this I think in my last video, but about making sure that you designate time for certain goals, otherwise they will not happen. I feel like I'm talking on webs right now. I don't feel like I'm making much cohesive sense. So the point, which is hysterical because the title of this video is called The Point. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what the point of life is, and that ultimately the point of life is to keep finding little points, and they can come in a spectrum of subcategories of points kind of thing, and I want to talk to you a little bit about those categories. Number one, pretty standard, pretty easy to understand, the sensory points. Okay, no, this is probably going to be a really weird story. It's actually a bit dumb. Like, I was having a yogurt and I was in the first year of university, and it was like the best thing I'd ever ate, and like I'd been eating a bit naff, like I'd been having like loads of fast food, like loads of pizzas, like it was the first year of uni, okay? Like I think I'd been out the night before, and so I was feeling hungover and I was just feeling a bit and like I hadn't really ate much throughout the daytime because I was feeling like hungover, and I had this yogurt in the evening, and it was like the best yogurt I'd ever had in my life. It was one of those like Greek yogurts with like the fruit kind of stuff on top, and like, oh my god, I was like actually, and I just sat there in complete silence, and like I just like ate this yogurt, and I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't looking out the window, I wasn't doing anything. I was literally just looking at this yogurt and eating this yogurt, and like I still remember that because I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not a big drinker, and I wasn't even a big drinker back then, but like obviously everyone succumbs to the freshers kind of antics, and like I just remember thinking to myself, like, even though it's just a yogurt, just thinking to myself, like, God, there's so much more to life. I was like, there are pleasurable, like sincerely, inherently pleasurable experiences that you can pursue that are gonna like reward you and be rewarding. What I mean to say is that sometimes the point is just little sensory bits. So like obviously I've tidied the house today, and I used a rhubarb scented cleaning product, which is like one of my favourite smells. The point is just literally to experience a sensation. Because we have senses, and like that's so cool, like not actually freak out, but like that's so cool. Like I'm not being funny, but like come here, like go like this, like not sound like a nut, like a hippie nut, but it's so true. Like we have senses, like I can look at visually nutritious images, and like I can experience the world through this lens of pleasure if I choose to facilitate that for myself. And there is an element of choice about the reward and the satisfaction that you get out of life, and telling you that isn't to stand there and go, oh, you could be doing more, like you should feel happy, because you shouldn't feel happy all of the time, that's an illness. But there are moments that we can enjoy. Sometimes the point is, particularly of a conversation, is to listen without the intention to correct, but with the intention to understand. There are going to be a lot of people who you disagree with in life, and that's good. Having people around you that contradict your current understanding of the world and give you new scopes and new lenses and new perspectives is so important, because otherwise we'll become fixed and we'll become stuck, and that's really dangerous. Not only for yourself, but for therefore your implications upon the wider world, because if you don't have a good understanding of how the world works, how on earth are you supposed to operate within it? So sometimes the point is just to sit down and listen to someone who you know that you're going to disagree with, who you know is going to piss you off and get on your nerves, and just hear them out and see if it can adapt the way that you think about it. And even if you leave that conversation being like, you know what, I still think you're wrong, I still think you're a twat, whatever, it means that you now understand a little bit better where they're coming from. And maybe they are wrong, like maybe they're young, maybe they're wrong, maybe they're going through something right now and they're sprouting this rhetoric and you're like, that's incorrect. Get well soon. Like maybe that is the case, but then you know maybe a little bit better about how it is that you could support them. And the more virtuous point, I'm talking the political point, the moral point, is to understand before you condemn something. Okay, like there's going to be a lot of people in your life, I said this before, like there's going to be a lot of people in your life that you disagree with, a lot of things in the world that happen that you disagree with. Likewise, there's going to be a lot of people in the world that you meet and at first instance, you just don't like them. But before you condemn them, try to understand a little bit more about where it is that they're coming from, like what is their point of orientation? Are they in the mechanism of self-defense, like when they're talking to you, are they looking at you like, because actually they're coming from a place of hurt themselves, etc., etc. So sometimes the point is to learn and to be open to learning, because I think it's really easy to kind of decide that you are powerless, and I think there's something silently, admittedly comforting about admitting that you're powerless. And what I mean by that is like look at politics. Like, before you get your knickers in a twist too much, have you ever got in touch with the local council? Honestly, like, have you ever got in touch with the local council and been like, what is it that you're doing about this? What is the budget for this going to currently? Because this isn't on. And finally, sometimes there's a biological point. You know, is it that you're going on a walk to experience nature, or is it that you're going on a walk to walk? You know, like, is it that you're going on a run to get out of the house because you spent too much time indoors and you want a bit of sunlight? Like, understanding the biological point and understanding that, you know, sometimes you eat a meal and the point is because it's bloody lovely and it tastes nice, and sometimes you eat a meal because, like, oh my god, I need some vegetables. And like, there's different points in life, and what I'm trying to cohesively say is that with love, get up and choose one. We all know the term like bed rotten, and like, oh, it's Sunday so I'm bed rotten, but like, that's not actually going to make you feel better unless you're poorly. You know, I hate lying in bed. Absolutely detest lying in bed during the day. It makes me feel stagnant, it makes my heart rate, it makes us feel like agitated and irritated. So therefore I know that, right, okay, when it comes to Sunday, my day of rest, how am I going to rest? Well, actually sitting on the sofa and watching TV all day, that just annoys me, like, that just makes me feel irritated. But I know that there's different parts of me that require rest, and there's different ways that I can facilitate that. Like, for example, if my mind needs rest, then maybe I'm going to colour in. Distract it, and not even necessarily, sometimes it's okay to distract yourself from things, you know, and sometimes it is in sitting and just doing a stupid little colouring in book that you start to be able to digest thoughts and feelings and information a little bit easier. Just, I personally don't think that everything's as much a coincidence as would like maybe like I think it is. Like, that's just my personal beliefs. When we think about like divine fate, I'm not saying that this is gospel, I'm not saying that this is true, I'm literally just saying that's my opinion. But when we think about like divine fate and like, you know, to things like intended to be so, like, I think the butterfly effect is real. Like, I think in regards of like, you know, if I move something and I do something, like maybe later on I'll forget that I've moved it and I'll lose it, and that'll cost me 5 extra minutes. Like, you know, the other day I was nearly late at work because I couldn't find my bag because I put it in a stupid place, so I couldn't find my keys. Like, just things like that. Like, of course that's real. But when we think about the point of life, sometimes the point is just to get up and have a go and to, you know, like I've said in previous videos, look at the cracks that it presents to you, because sometimes when you have a go, you're like, holy shit, I can't go on a run because actually my shoes are rubbish and my feet hurt. Like, maybe then it is in doing stuff and having a go that you start to find yourself, that you start to find your points, that you start to understand yourself and develop a sense of self. And wouldn't that be bloody wonderful? You know, step 1, know thyself. I think I've mentioned this before, I'm not sure if I have. My absolute favourite quote is, he who has a good enough why to live can bear almost any how. Amazing. Saying is that we go through life, and at different points of life we have different points, and we tell ourselves that, like, wow, now that I've got this new little nugget of information, now that I know this, now that I understand this more, that this must definitely be the point. I've cracked the code, I get it, like, this is definitely the point of my life. Like, and we do it in terms of careers. Like, I couldn't tell you the amount of things that I've wanted to do with my life. Like, I just find it all so interesting. Like, I've wanted to go into biology, I've wanted to go into psychology, I've wanted to go into like working with children, and it's not that I'm like, I get into it and I discovered that I don't want to do it. It's that I want to learn as much as possible because it is fascinating, and we live on a fascinating planet. Like, at the moment, I want to learn about animals, and something that I learned a while ago was that jellyfish have actually been alive for longer than trees have been on Earth. Like, jellyfish have been alive for like 600 million years, and I think that's really cool, and I want to learn more about animals this year. And if this seems really manic, I don't care. Like, I actually just don't care. Like, you should be ecstatic about life, and I hope at some point you are ecstatic about something. Just pleasure out of life, like whether that is having a bloody yogurt after not eating because you're hungover, or whether that is talking to someone and hitting a point of clarity, whether it is that you come to an agreement with them, or whether it is that you come to a point of, actually, no, that totally makes sense why you would think that, like, and you come away with it and you make your own conclusion of it. Like, at different points of our life, that, no pun intended, there are different points to life. And that's okay. And like, we should remain open to the point of life changing as we change. And that's a sign of a really healthy individual. So don't get too stressed about coming up with, you know, these New Year's resolutions, or understanding what the point of life is, because how you understand what the point of life is, like, you know, unless you have cultural or religious beliefs, and that is absolutely fine, then it's okay to believe that maybe there is no implicit inherent point, and that actually the point is just to experience it. You know, like, the point of my senses, yes, it is to communicate with me, the outer world, so I can touch something and understand. Like, really fun random fact, like, you can look at anything and imagine what it would feel like to lick it. Like, you can look at a window and you just know what it would feel like on your tongue. Or like, look at a petal and like, your brain just knows what it would feel like on your tongue. Like, the senses do have inherent purposes, but I can utilize them to experience pleasure via a massage, or I can utilize the senses to experience pleasure by listening to music that I like. Like, you can tailor. There's so much in the world that is out of your control, but there is so much that you can control and therefore enjoy. So as usual, I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and do tell me, what is it that you have learned recently about the world that made you look at it a little bit different? Maybe something positive that you've seen, maybe some news, maybe a cool fact or a quote. What is it that has opened you up to enjoying life a little bit lately?